everyone. Thank you for joining this focus group discussion today. We will be talking about mental challenges that students face during periods of academic pressure, like exams or deadlines. It is important to understand why these challenges between happens and how they affect us. Today we have six participants and I will ask two main questions. Please share your thoughts and remember there are no right or answer. Just speak from experience and let's have a respectful and open discussion. Before we start with the main question, can you share one word that describes how you feel during exam season?
I feel stressed.
I feel overwhelmed.
I anxious.
And I feel exhausted.
I feel pressure.
Kau tak open mic.
I feel confused.
Thank you for sharing those words. I think many students feel the same way during exams or deadlines. Now let's dive into our first questions. The question is, why do you think mental challenges like stress or anxiety become worse during exams or assignment deadlines? What's the causes to these matters?
I think it's because we have too many things to do at the same time. There are deadlines, exam, and project all at once. It's hard to manage everything, and we feel pressure to do well.
Right. So it's about having too many tasks at once. Does anyone else feel the same?
Yes, and sometimes we don't get enough sleep. When I don't sleep enough, it makes everything harder. I feel stressed and I can concentrate on what I'm doing. It worse when I don't understand something in class and don't have time for ask for help.
Also, I think we compare ourselves to others too much. If my friends do better than me, I feel like I'm not good enough. I think social media is worse because we can see people showing their achievement and it makes us feel like we're falling behind.
Well, that's a good point. Comparing ourselves to others can really affect our mental health. Do you think that's the common among students?
Yes, I think it's very common. For me, expectation make it worse. My parents expect me to get high grades, and when I don't, I feel like I'm disappointing them. It's a lot of pressure.
I agree with Yan. Sometimes the pressure comes from family, but it also comes from ourselves. We want to do well, and when we don't meet on on expectation, it feels like we fail.
So, we have talked about external factors like deadlines, family expectation, and comparing ourselves to others. What about internal factors? Do you think the pressure comes from within as well?
Yes, definitely. I think the pressure to succeed is something we put on ourselves too. Even if no one says anything, I want to do well for myself. But when I can't focus or I don't do well, I feel like I'm failing.
Thank you for sharing. It sounds like mental challenges during academic pressure comes from both external and internal factors. Now, let's move on to our second questions. How do mental challenges such as stress or anxiety influence your ability to manage academic tasks and deadlines? How do stress and anxiety impact your academic performance?
When I'm stressed, I can focus on my work. I spend more time worrying about my tasks than actually doing them.
Interesting. Does anyone else feel like stress makes it harder to focus?
Yes, me too. I forget what I studied. My mind feels blank, especially during exam. It's frustrating because I know I have studied, but I just can't remember.
Also, I procrastinate a lot when I'm anxious. I know I should start my work early, but I keep delaying it because I'm scared I won't do it well. Then I feel even more stressed when the deadline gets closer.
So, procrastination is a result of anxiety. Does anyone else feel like this way?
Yes, definitely. When I feel overwhelmed, I can't think clearly. Even simple tasks feel too hard to finish. I just sit there doing nothing because I don't know where to start.
For me, stress makes me lose my motivation. Even if I sleep well, I feel tired all the time. It's hard to stay motivated when you feel anxious or depressed.
Yes, and it also affects how we interact with people. When I'm stressed, I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to be alone. It affects my mood and I get irritated easily.
Thank you for sharing. It sounds like stress and anxiety don't just affect your academic performance, they also affect your mood, motivation, and social interactions. How do you usually cope with these mental challenges? Do you have any strategies to reduce stress or anxiety during academic pressure?
I try to take breaks and do things I enjoy, like listening to music or exercising.
For me, talking to friends helps. When I share my feelings, it makes me feel less alone.
I try to plan my time better, but sometimes it's hard to follow the plan. I'm still working on it.
And for me, I find that meditation or deep breathing exercise help me calm down before exam.
Sometimes I just remind myself that it's okay to not be perfect. It's important to be kind to yourself.
I agree with Farisha. Self compassion is important. I also try to sleep well and eat healthy food to stay energized.
Thank you all for sharing your thought and experience. This discussion helped us understand how mental challenges affect students during academic pressure. We talk about the causes of pressures and the stress and anxiety, how they impact our academic tasks, and ways to cope with them. I really appreciate your honesty and participation. Let's continue supporting each other during tough times and remember that it's okay to ask for help when you need it. Thank you again for being here.